Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Dore. He's built up a reputation for himself as calling a spade and telling truth to power. Well, it ends here. Like all men, it always ends. This is a story where a woman, a feminist woman, gets in the Washington Post and starts attacking the men there. And he and his friends, his cohorts, I should say, will not be willing to admit this. And we'll start it off here.
Dude, after much deliberation, I've decided I'm now pro Felicia Sonmez. He's really not. He's kidding. It's a joke.
Felicia Sonmez is the woman, the feminist woman who got in the Washington Post. And you said she got attacked Dave Weigel, who happened to work there.
Joke. Now Ryan Grimm will tell you that I don't get the joke. Her behavior is just taking the woke therapeutic language in the workplace to its logical conclusion. Her actions now force cowardly management to reckon with what their policies actually look like in practice.
This guy who tweeted has a lot of nerve calling the management cowardly, even though they are, when he is calling feminist woke. He is too scared to say what's going on. So who is he to call the management cowardly? And it's true, this feminist woman was so bad going after every man in it in the workplace that they finally had to fire her out of self-preservation. And they are cowardly in that if she just went after one guy a year, she'd eventually get them all. They'd be okay with that. It's because she had no self-constraint or restraint that they were forced to. So he's right about that. So we'll keep going.
So what he's saying this is actually a good moment because now everybody gets a good, is that what correct me if I'm wrong. He's saying,
I agree. I'm enjoying it immensely
because everybody gets to see what the logical progression of these kind of policies and this kind of culture is.
I disagree, because seeing doesn't mean anything by itself. For one thing, that's only step one. Step two is you go admit what's going on, which Dore and his friends aren't. And then you have to take appropriate action. These people, these men at the Washington Post only fired this woman for the wrong reasons. They fired her because they were scared for their jobs, but they did not fire her because she was a hate monger feminist. They sacrificed Dave Weigel here, right? So they had no principles. And Dore's the same way. He can't even mention what's going on here. So this is not going to make any change, any positive change. Things are going to keep going the way they're going.
Now you want everybody to get fired at the Washington Post?
Not everybody, every man. If Dore was honest and brave, he would call a spade. He'd say, these women are going after the men in the workplace. So it's not everybody. They use gender neutral terms to obscure the situation.
I'm not misinterpreting what he's saying, am I?
I stood by and said nothing, but when they got to gross Dave, I said enough is enough.
And just so you know about how mental she is, she had sex with a colleague and they were both drunk. She then got that guy fired because she said he took advantage of her because she couldn't give consent because she was drunk. He was also drunk.
So what, Dore? This has been happening for years worldwide. So there's two sets of rules, one for men and one for women. Women are the nobility, men are peasants. And that's why there's double standards. These double standards have been around for years. So why are you acting so surprised?
So she got that guy fired and ruined his career. And then she called herself a victim. And so then the Washington Post, after she got that guy fired at the Washington Post for having sex, she had sex with him voluntarily and then got him fucking fired afterwards for fucking her.
Well, I'm sure there was some kind of power dynamic horseshit too thrown into the mix.
And then
Yeah, it shows you the kind of power dynamics that women have, the kind of social influence. They can get men fired whenever they feel like it. And for them to do that means that everyone's involved. All the other women are backing them, and all the other men at the workforce are backing them.
so then the Washington Post wouldn't let her cover stories like that about harassment and stuff because she wouldn't be impartial because she was a victim herself. She sued the Washington Post over it. The judge tossed it out with prejudice, meaning she can't bring it up again. And yet the Washington Post is still shitting their pants over her and still suspending fucking reporters because.
Exactly. So why do you think that there's going to be change, Dore? They're just as scared as you are. You are not going to say the truth in this podcast of yours. You're scared to death of the average woman on the street. So there's not going to be any societal change.
Because of her. Why don't you fucking fire her?
For the same reason why you can't call them feminist.
Why don't they fire her? I know why. Because this is the culture that they like. This scold culture where the worst thing you could do is tell a joke that offends a mental person.
There you go, everyone. Jimmy Dore just failed. This isn't a scold culture. These are feminist women going after men. Dore, these women, do they ever get women fired at the Washington Post? No, they don't, do they? Right. And they're not offended. They don't get offended. They just look at something a guy says and tries to use it against them because they hate the guy. Jimmy, when some guy says, "Hey, were you looking at my girlfriend?" And you say, "Oh, I wasn't looking at your girlfriend." And then the guy says, "Oh, my good girlfriend isn't good looking enough for you to look over." See, he wants to start a fight with you and break your nose, right? That's what's going on. It has nothing to do with what's going on. And this is what's happening here with these women. It doesn't matter what the men say. It's always going to be wrong. Because they hate them and they want to attack them.
Well, these are like useful maniacs. Let's say we got to destroy the gray zone. Like,
no, useful. First of all, they're not maniacs. They're hate mongers. Kurt, if you are Kurt, they're hate mongers. They're not maniacs. And they're not useful because that would suggest that they're being puppets for someone else. They're not. They're free agents, Metzger. They're free agents. They're doing exactly what they want. They're freelancers. They're freelance hate mongers of men. So here these guys have totally obscured what's actually happening. There's your heroes speaking truth to power.
Yes.
These are the kind of maniacs you go to, and everybody goes to them. I think they get, because I've seen this in every genre of everything. My friend that complained about a Star Wars movie got put on a pipeline to the alt-right list for it.
Exactly. Feminists have infiltrated every aspect of society. And that's why men are running scared now, like you guys.
They all pay these maniacs. They're like just professional shills. It's like
yes.
PR. That's what it is now, PR.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can't destroy us by proving we're a vehicle for the FSB. So just try something much easier in this culture. Sexual blackmail. I mean,
Max, they're not going after you for some other political reason. They're not going after you because of your political stance. They're going after you because you're a man.
which is kind of a spook tactic.
Well, I think they're mad about Amber Heard losing because that was what got affected.
Yeah.
I mean,
Amber Heard, they got angry at that because these feminists want women to have the right to abuse men and have no consequences. That's why they got angry over Amber Heard losing. So are you going to try and spin it as something else?
Maniacs like that who try to do like, just last minute make up some, and then you find out they're the total abuser, that kind of stuff.
We should call it a Kasparian. I think we should call that. We should call
Wild compared to this.
this. Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Well, that's because she couldn't get me fired, but believe me, she would have tried if she could.
Yeah, because Kasparian is a feminist. The Young Turks are feminist run, and they do go after men. And she did try to fire you. It just didn't work. But you have to admit that, Dore, right?
Anyway, there it is. So this is a big watershed moment in the culture. I think people are, even people at the Washington Post are kind of sick of it. It seems like we'll see.
This was before they fired the woman. So Dore he put this up before this, so he couldn't know. But they're not sick of it, Dore. They were scared. They were scared. The men there were scared for their careers, so they fired her for that reason. But they're not sick of it. This is not a watershed moment because you guys are too scared to say what's going on. You guys are too scared. So what makes you think that anything's going to change?
Because this always gets couched as if you don't like someone like her, you're a Trumper, right? Because that's how everything gets reported. Even the Amber Heard thing, the maniacs over at the Young Turks were trying to make it if you're for Johnny Depp, you're a right winger. That's because it's crazy Kasparian.
Yeah, they obscure the language because they don't want to be honest. They can't just come out and say, we hate you guys because you were born male. And you guys fall for it. You guys who are so afraid of these women fall for it purposely. You either lack awareness or you're aware and you're in the denial. You just don't want to admit what's happening.
Is that what she said?
That's what the Young Turks were saying. Yes, they're trying to make it into a right wing, left wing thing. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. Yes, they were doing that.
Time's up.
What a crazy story.
But it's not crazy at all. None of that is crazy. There's nothing crazy about the KKK, for example, trying to lynch a black man. It's evil, but it's not crazy. And there's nothing crazy about feminists attacking men at the workplace. It's evil, but it's not crazy.
It reminds me so much of the last 15 years working in progressive media.
Okay, by the way, Max here, he's going to screw up and call them feminist later on. But notice right now he's using the word progressive to obscure the situation. And yeah, 15 years, this has been going on for a long time. Things have been building up since the 60s. Feminists have been working to get into all these positions of power and authority. And now these guys are feeling it.
I know. I mean, I had to start my own outlet because so many of the places I'd worked in or around were sabotaged and destroyed by Felicias like this.
No, the men were attacked in those places by these women, by these feminist women. They're not actually trying to burn the place to the ground. They're just trying to set all the men on fire. And if the place collapses because of that, obviously men are the ones that make things happen. So that's what's going on there, Max. By the way, and you ran away, didn't you? You had to go and make your own situation. Because let's face it, I mean, these guys say, hey, why didn't you fire this woman? Who are you guys to say? Max, why didn't you get together with all the guys there and fight these women, fight these Felicias? Because being a typical guy, you knew your place and you ran away. You didn't put up a fight. So who else what makes you think any of you guys that any other guy is going to put up a fight?
Complete sociopaths who loved wrecking everything, who stood for nothing, and found some little in-group of fellow sociopaths to destroy, either to like take aim at people who they disagreed with or who.
No. See how he's obscuring the situation? These women do stand for something. They stand for hate, for male hatred. They hate you guys. And they didn't find some little in-group. Feminist women are everywhere. And they work to get there. And you're right, only in the way that they have no talent and they don't add anything, but how did they get there? How did these talented women get there? Because men want women around and they're willing to hire them, as well as having work quotas or job quotas for women. So these men bring these women in and then sacrifice other men. And guys like you have to run away.
Were senior to them, and it gave them meaning. I just saw one progressive institution after another collapse under the weight of these whack jobs. One example was, I watched it at the Nation. I'd basically cleared out of there, and I'd always tried to stay away from the office and just stay out of all the drama there. But I remember.
Why are you downgrading it with the word drama? It wasn't just a pain in the ass again. Max, you were afraid for your career. If you didn't mind your P's and Q's, and these wouldn't matter if you mind your P's and Q's. If one of these women, these feminist women, didn't like your face, she'd get your can. So this is serious business to you. Max and Dore and everyone, men have been known to take their lives after they lost their career. Once they found they were unemployable. That's their very lives. This is as serious as it gets. So it's not just drama, Max. This is pathetic.
Katha Pollitt, he's a very similar character, self-proclaimed feminist columnist. She just decided to wage this war.
There he did. He just finally admitted that they're feminist. So Max, why are you using these words like progressives then? We all know why. You're too scared. You're too scared to call a spade, just like you're too scared to stand up with them against these women at the workplace. You ran away. And by the way, what's stopping them from getting to the gray zone? One of these women come up and say, I want a job, and you refuse them, and they say, oh, you're discriminating against me because I'm a woman. You have to hire so many women. I'm one of them. And then all of a sudden you've got this woman in the gray zone and you've got to worry about, and then she starts attacking the men there, just like they did at the Washington Post. Right? You can't run away from these problems. You got to deal with them. And the first thing is actually admitting what's going on.
On Matt Taibbi and Mark Ames, accusing them of being rapists because of satirical kind of body columns they wrote back at the Exile when they were in Moscow. And the real reason she was doing it, working with Joan Walsh, another Felicia, who had been basically brought in to be the voice of the Democratic Party, just a complete propagandist for the DNC and the Hillary campaign.
See what he's doing? He's trying to blame the Democrats. Max, these Felicias, they both happen to be women, right? And the people they're getting fired, or they just happen to be men, right? Okay, so this has nothing to do with the Democratic Party, does it? Wow. And these guys are just sitting there eating it right up. So you think this is the truth being told on the Jimmy Dore show? Everyone, all you Jimmy Dore fans.
They were just upset that the publisher, Katrina vanden Heuvel, was married to the leading Russia expert in the United States, Stephen Cohen, who is warning against a new Cold War and opposing Russiagate. And they were saying, oh, he's a Trumper. And they saw Taibbi and Mark Ames also as too pro-Russia. So they started accusing
all three of the men, right? Just that coincidence that never ends. It's all just coincidental, eh, Max? That these women went after men. But no. It has something to do with Russia.
Them of being rapists. Matt Taibbi, I think, was on book tour at the time, or had just come out with a book about the police murder of Eric Garland. And it basically, this campaign sabotaged his book tour. It led to, I think, Catholic Pilot having to issue public retractions, but they continued waging war inside the nation.
Exactly. They don't care what a man is trying to accomplish. He's a man. He's going to go down. They're going to attack him. And here's another thing, Max and company. When these women causes damage to the institution that it collapses, they're all right. They don't suffer. They go on to the next institution and do it all over again. They don't become unemployable. And the few cases where it might, these women become all of a sudden traditional conservative right-wingers and find a husband to look after them. Women find men to support them. Employment does not mean the same thing to women as it does to you guys. So know it. This is why it goes on.
To get their way. And to push new Cold War hostility, but they were using sex as a way to get their way. And I saw it in so many institutions. I mean, I'm not ready to go public about it all. Maybe someday I'll write about the whole thing, but it was.
Yeah, this is serious shit that's affecting you as a man and all the other guys, but you're not ready to write about it. Just like Dore and Mesker here aren't ready to talk about it. You guys are saying nothing now.
One after another. I mean, we should ask what happened to the real news. Where is it today? It's gone. Where's Truth Dig? It's gone. Where is Alternet? Gone.
Why?
What happened to the Nation Institute? Gone. What happened to the New Republic? What happened there?
I don't
And
know.
a lot of
Yeah, these feminist women are like locusts. They go on, devour everything. When it's barren, they jump to the next place and start there. They're even like a grass fire. That might even be a closer analogy. And you guys see all this, and what are you doing about it? Nothing. Forget about doing something. You can't, they're not even willing to be brave enough to talk about it. So, Max, why do you think they all disappeared? Because the men in these institutions did nothing. They're scared of the women. They just let them do whatever they want. They let them beat the shit out of them and go take their lunch money and leave.
it all comes back to this kind of culture of canceling and exploiting sexual issues so that sociopaths who have no talent and who believe in nothing can get their way.
You're right in that they have no talent, but they do stand for something. They stand for the hatred of men. And again, if these women have no talent, how'd they get in their positions? Because the men there hire them. Men do it to themselves.
And that's really why so many writers are moving to Substack, because no one can do this to them there. Why?
What makes you think that? Like I said, these feminist women are locusts. All they have to do is show up at the door and demand that you guys hire them.
I have one, I mean, it's not the real reason I have the gray zone. The reason I started it is because we write about things that are impossible to write about anywhere in mainstream media or to report on, even in whatever's left of progressive media, because they're all imperialist. But there's
progressive, they're all imperialist, right? Oh my God. I thought the progressives were all Marxist and communist. That's what I hear from the right wingers. Funny how the right wingers, they call them Marxist and communist, and you guys will call them progressive, imperialist, right? Oh my God. If you started this to tell the truth, yet here you are unable to tell the truth.
There's also the fact that I don't have to deal with that bullshit culture anymore. It's also why I don't want to live in Brooklyn and be around all of those repulsive characters, the vice crowd. You know.
Jesus.
But I mean, this culture has worked its way into mainstream media, and it's now become a cancer at the heart of these August legacy institutions that say democracy dies in darkness.
That's right. These feminists have infiltrated media. And they've also infiltrated education, and they've also infiltrated the legal system. That's why the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case came about. Johnny Depp he struggled against the judicial system. And then the media outlets all gave their hit pieces on Johnny Depp. So you guys are coming up to a point where if you don't want to see Rome burning, at the very least, you've got to admit what's going on. And frankly, you don't have the courage to do that. Now, everyone listening to me, unlike Dore, I don't make money off this, and I'm not trying to become famous. I'm not into this for wealth and fame. So unlike him, I really can speak truth to power. Dore, this is how it's actually done. And you're welcome.